You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN and Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Christos, and with me today are old school Amy and Kelvin. Good morning and good evening. How you doing, Kelvin?
I'm really good, thank you, Christos, my love. It's lovely to see you both, actually. I listened last week. I was screaming along when you couldn't remember the name of Scott Bakula and thinking it's all gone to shit without me.
What happens when you leave two hungover Gen Xers in charge?
But yeah, it's lovely to see you. It's especially lovely to see you as well, Amy. It's been quite a few weeks now.
I know. So yeah, I'm glad to see you as well, and hope you enjoyed your weekend. Last weekend. So.
Yay. Yeah. So listeners, we are going to warn you up front. This is probably going to be a special double-length episode. So just stand by. It's good. There's a lot of amazing things to talk about in the world of Trek. So if you're listening to us, you love Trek as much as we do. So you'll be here for the ride. All right. Are we ready? Well, Amy, first off, how are the Backstreet Boys? Let's get a little...
Yes. Oh, you guys. So this was my first time going to the Sphere, and boy, what a show it is. Completely immersive. The seats shake like you are in it. You see the visuals all the way up, and the seats are very steep, but comfortable. And we could see everything. It's a different way to do concerts because, like, I'm old school. I grew up like going to concerts where, like, George Strait's, just him and his guitar, just singing, and it's just more intimate. This, I felt like it could have been any five guys because you're there on stage and you are so far away, but you're enjoying the visuals and you're got this amazing sound. But you're like, are they singing? Is it really them? Like, it just, I don't know. It was such a big show that it just contrasts to the intimacy of what concerts could be.
Right. I have two questions for you. Yep. First off, did you get any sort of like motion sickness or queasy or afraid of heights? Because some people have described that. Okay, so I'll go. I'd be willing to check this place out. And then someone told me last night that they're doing some sort of Wizard of Oz thing in there. Have you heard anything?
Yes. About that? Yeah. So they're going to be showing the Wizard of Oz movie in there. It's going to be edited. I think they removed like 20 minutes or something from that. But
that's perfect. All right. I'd be down for that. All right. Okay. All right. Back to Trek. So
yes. In
no particular order, this week in Trek, I had to bring back this segment, which is very, like, we're going to bring over the second half of What's the T-Bev here for today's episode, minus the visuals for those of you who are watching on our Patreon. All right, so let's talk about Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 3, Shuttle to Kenfori. What do we think, Kelvin?
This is where I'm thinking now. I wish I was here last week because I would be like buzzing to talk about episode 2. I enjoyed it so much. I've rewatched it about 3 times. I can't see me rewatching episode 3. I didn't enjoy. I will say, so I went in with expectations. I think I messaged saying, is it going to be really, really scary? I don't do horror as a genre. I can feel Kristin's eyes burning into me as I say that. I knew it was the zombie episode, so I knew that was the genre of the episode. But even with all that, and I was quite delighted actually that I wasn't grossed out and hiding behind a pillow. I did get to actually watch the episode. I didn't care for the A story, the Mbenga and Pike on the planet. I was fascinated by the B and the C story. So the what's going on with Batel and the Ortegas attitude story. So those were like the weaves that are planting into what's going on across the arc of the season, which I like because it gets you speculating. But the actual Pike and Mbenga fighting zombies. No.
Amy?
Well, I liked the Mbenga and Pike story. That was my favorite, in part because I think if you remember, I mentioned when we wrapped up Strange New World Season 2 that under the cloak
Of war.
of war, yes, thank you, under the cloak of war, that was my favorite episode. And so to have this continuation, I was so excited. And to have like Mbenga realize and like confront and admit that he killed him, like out of revenge. And so to sort of put that, but then to like, you're not going to judge one person, and there were reasons. And so to have Pike say, you're still a good man, and for Mbenga to like forgive himself, I thought was just beautiful ending to that story.
Yeah.
My least favorite part was the Klingon that was trying to kill Mbenga.
Oh, no, yeah. She's a little over the top for sure. I got her name for you guys this morning because I actually learned it. I don't know, Baitha. I have a feeling we're gonna see some Baitha cops. Just predicting.
Yeah.
Amy, can I quiz you though? So we're used to seeing characters in Star Trek murder people, but it is usually as part of the battle, self-defense, etc. We've now found out, and taking out characters like Giorgio and Garrick, forget that. We've now got one of the main legacy hero characters of Star Trek, who's a doctor who's murdered someone and just admitted it. And then the captain's saying, "Oh, but you're still a good man." Kind of not. Do you not think that has sullied the character?
Well, I think, if you think about with Picard, and they're like, he's too perfect, and that was always a criticism where it's like, no, Mbenga, not a perfect man. None of us are. And we are going to make mistakes, and there were extenuating circumstances. So, yeah, I see your point, but I like the complexity of we don't have perfect Starfleet officers. So I like that complexity.
Okay.
So I would also say he's PTSD'd the hell from the war, and that was affecting his judgment. And that's kind of the problem, is this other guy
and
that comes out.
And...
Yeah. He's not the same person. So I did not want to watch the episode after all the, there was a lot of people saying, oh, it's the horror episode, it's the zombie episode. And I'm right there with Kelvin, once again, my brother. And like, I'm not wanting to watch this episode, but I finally sat down. I even avoided watching it. I watched it yesterday morning and I loved it. I loved it. My big criticism of it, though, is here we are at episode 3, and this is not a Strange New World adventure to another world. Once again, if you are not engrossed in this show and knowing what's going on with all these characters, you would be lost watching this episode. Battelle is continuing, Ortegas is continuing, and Mbenga. All of these are literally deep storylines that have been going on since season 1 in some cases. And if you haven't been watching this show, you're lost. And here we are now heading to episode 4, and we've just not gone on a rando mission. So that would be my critique, in a sense of you're not following what your show format's supposed to be, but I did enjoy it. And what I liked the best about it, and there's a lot of things I liked about it, but when Ortegas did what she did, I loved that Una just held her to the fire. She took her off duty. She assigned her to the warrant officer. We actually saw real consequences in Star Trek. And that was like, a lot of times our heroes get it's okay. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and it's justify the means.
She's like, you were insubordinate. You forced my hand into your path of resolving it. And as it turned out, this would have resolved itself. My way would have worked without endangering the crew. You endangered the crew. There were, blah, blah, blah. And we actually saw consequences at the end of the episode. And aside from that awfully distracting wig that Una had on, looking like somewhere between Pollyanna and Helga the Viking and Princess Leia, that took me out of it a little bit, listeners. That's why I call it out. It was distracting.
Did you appreciate the Klingon music? I was thinking of you.
It was Star Trek 6.
Yeah.
It was Star Trek 6, and I literally, I didn't put it in my notes here, but I'm like, I have to call that out because it's the Star Trek 6 Klingon music. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I did have the subtitles on, so that's how I picked up the name a little faster. It is said in the episode, but when it's on your subtitles, it was there a lot. So
I've got a quick question. So we've got the mind meld with Spock and Batel, where they saw the Gorn, and then you've got Ortegas having hallucinations about seeing the Gorn in the window. Do you think that's just random two kind of things, or do you think they're connected, seeing Gorn in some way?
Well, one thing I didn't pick up on too after the first 2 episodes, when they were being devoured in Homogeny 2, Ortegas lost part of her hand.
Yeah, she lost 2 fingers.
I didn't realize that until after we recorded last week. Then I saw something about it. Now, I don't know if I haven't noticed, did they were able to regenerate them? Where is there a prosthetic? Is she missing 2 fingers now? But I don't know. So I don't know if it's PTSD or if there's more to come. On the other hand, I think I said it last week. We've been down this road with Gorn PTSD. Literally, that was La'an's story for 2 years. Don't need to see Ortegas do it now.
Yeah.
Especially
we do get a much lighter La'an, which I'm delighted about.
Well, now it's like they've switched roles.
Yeah.
Anyways, any more about Shuttle to Kinfori? All right, we need to move on because we have a lot to do. All right. San Diego Comic-Con. So it's one of those weekends where my city becomes the spotlight of all nerddom. So we'll take that because Amy gets it a lot and I get a weekend. She gets a week. But let's just start.
We had 2 conventions in Manchester yesterday. There was Manchester Comic Con and another one, and we had Marina at one of them. Michelle Hurd was at the other. So I was like, they're both in Manchester, and I'm not going to either of them.
Oh my gosh, Kelvin!
I am coming to Vegas next week.
Yeah.
Starfleet Academy. Let's just start there because I think that's what let's just say everybody was excited about. So it started Friday with the drop of a poster and some stills from Entertainment Weekly. And then we got a full-blown 2-minute plus trailer yesterday, this was all our first real look at the show. Amy, initial reactions.
I am actually a little surprised at how drama and like heavy it feels. I was hoping for more lighthearted type of show. So I'm just a little concerned about that. I just don't want it to be so heavy like Discovery. Since it is a spinoff of Discovery, I'm hoping that they can change the tone of it. Did we not see Tilly in the trailer?
No, I don't.
That's the question. Where is Tilly?
Yeah. And I was like, what? And we saw Tignataro, so I was happy to see that. And how come we didn't see Admiral Vance?
No.
There were some significant people that were missing from the trailer that I noticed.
Vance may have been in one of the stills, like one of the pictures that was released, but not in the trailer. Yeah. And before we get too deep, Kelvin, what did you think?
I'm delighted. Finally something to be really excited about, something tangible. And I knew, because I'm not that invested in the schooling aspect of the kind of probably the things that you'd really buzz off, Amy, actually being a teacher yourself. I'd enjoy that, but the fact we see so much throwback to older Trek, and I remember saying, maybe one of the teachers could be a history teacher, and they keep dropping in bits from it's all the way through. And I'm thinking, well, who needs Star Trek Legacy now? Because it looks like the Academy is just going to be talking constantly with lots and lots of not only Easter eggs, but like lessons and things like the call out to what happened to Cisco and the Wall of Heroes. And I can't. It's the perfect blend of new material, but talking about the old as well. So I'm genuinely now really excited for Academy.
Yeah. Oh God, Kelvin. Once again, I think we're trapped in the same mind sometimes. So like Amy, everything you said you want it to be is what I don't want it to be. I don't want CW. I don't want the CW lighthearted Starfleet teenage show. I want my Star Trek, and it looks like it's going to be a little bit of both. I love that we are introduced. There's a lot of character stills that are out there about who the cadets are, and there's a Klingon. We finally see a Klingon in the post-burn. Yeah, in the post-burn. And what about the first officer of the Athena being half Klingon, half Herosian?
Jem'Hadar.
No, Jem'Hadar. Sorry, that's kind of crazy.
Jem'Hadar don't have gender, so there's no women Jem'Hadar. So I don't know maybe they've evolved after
evolution.
Evolution.
After the burn.
How they talk about that. Yeah.
I will say the show looks spectacular. It looks really well done. And I like that the Athena, which is going to be our hero ship of this show, and named after a Greek goddess, is like integrated into San Francisco, and it can leave. Like it's like this, it can dock with Starfleet Academy and then go leave and do things like training missions and stuff. So I think that's like really clever. It's a way to keep it from being, in Deep Space Nine, we learned that by season 3 we need a ship too, and so they're like not making the Deep Space Nine mistake. They've actually if we're going to be in one place, we need to be able to leave, and they've solved that.
I will say I'm not overly fond of the bridge of the Athena. Holly Hunter in the middle in the captain's chair. The amount of distance between her and the crew, they're all in a circle or with their back to her. So I'm thinking, good luck anyone receiving any commands from that captain. You won't be able to lip read, you won't be able to hear her. Not the best design of bridge. I am hoping it will grow on me.
So Holly Hunter is half lanthanite, half human. So that's interesting. So looking forward to that. And her name is it Nala?
Nala Aki, is it?
Yeah. Isn't that the lioness cub in Lion King? Isn't she Nala too? Okay. I mean, like, otherwise it's looking good. And I think with Strange New Worlds back and, being very good, and now all of this fanfare around Academy, I feel like Star Trek kind of is back after months and months and months of slump / nothing, and obviously the bad landing of Section 31. So the last really good thing we had was Lower Decks last year, and so it feels like we're coming out of hibernation again.
Yeah, so it says early 2026.
Yeah,
what's your best guess?
March.
Yeah, I mean, early could be anything as late as May.
I know.
In the first half. So yeah,
I'm hoping February.
I mean, earlier the better.
January is a very dark month.
More people tend to be home and doing that kind of stuff. So there you go. So very good. Next, I'm going to move us on to a very short topic: Strange New World Season 4 teaser. And I'm asking for clarification here. Are we getting a freaking Muppet Show episode?
Yeah.
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, it's full puppet show.
I mean,
what is this face you're giving, Christos?
I mean, I'll said it last week and I'll say it again. We have 10 precious episodes per season.
We have 6 next year.
And the 6 for the final year. And we just keep on. Everything has to be a freaking gimmick. Can't you just write good Star Trek? I'm sorry.
But didn't you love the musical one?
Yeah, but that's okay. So we jumped it once and we did something crazy. We don't need that every year. I mean,
what I will say though, is this not Discovery's thing? People go on about
Strange New Worlds thing.
Yeah. People went on about Discovery for being all about Michael Burnham and it needs to be the ensemble. And no, that wasn't what they wanted Discovery to be. They wanted it to be around a couple of characters. Stop trying to make it something more familiar. I think Strange New Worlds thing is the gimmick and the change in genre episode to episode. So I don't mind, and it's funny.
I see you and I hear you, but I'm like, but you have a good show. You have a good ship. You have a good cast. You have the ability to do great special effects. You don't need all of this hype. I mean, if you're going to go in, though, they better go all in and do the whole opening theme with the arches and all the Muppets in it. And if get Miss Piggy in there for effect. Moving on. We finally not only got a little release date for this Star Trek audio drama simply titled Khan, we also know it's coming in about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and apparently free wherever you get your podcasts. But we got an extended trailer, and I will say the what we got out of the trailer is that this is a story kind of being told in the Captain Sulu Excelsior era, looking back, and some sort of investigation. But we do have Captain Sulu and Ensign Tuvok is part of this audio drama. So how are we feeling about the Khan audio drama? Kelvin, you go first on this one.
I'm excited. I'm a bit disappointed that it dropped yesterday. It's been really overshadowed by everything else. I don't even know if it was it through San Diego Comic-Con or was it StarTrek.com that put it out? Maybe it was just where I consumed the video, but it seemed more like it was StarTrek.com that released the news of it. I may be wrong there, and it may be a San Diego Comic-Con thing. But I'm delighted to hear that we have Tim Russ and George Takei back giving vocals, such wonderful vocals as well. I'm intrigued that they've recast certain characters like Marla McGivers. So, yeah, I'm here for it. But it's just a little sad to say I'm not as excited as I am about Academy or everything else. It's probably lower down in my pecking order. And if it's a free podcast wherever you get your podcast, where are they making their money?
There'll probably be advertisements, I'm guessing.
Boo!
I was thinking the same thing because I was like, it's not going to be like a audiobook. Like I don't have to buy this. This is just a little weird. I love it. Down for it. I'm excited. TOS isn't my favorite, but I'm definitely looking forward to listening to the story because it's just another story of Trek. I'm sure it'll be good because it's written by Kristin Beyer and David Mack. So
yeah. I also predict, I'll go on a limb, back to the money thing, Kelvin. I predict that it'll be released as an audio book for purchase, obviously ad-free and all of that. And maybe, I don't know if they're going to break this. There's probably going to be multiple episodes. I don't know if it's dropping all at once. I don't know if we're getting it week to week. I kind of would prefer week to week. I don't want to have to try, it gives me a little bit more time to digest all of that.
Yeah, so, like a chapter at a time.
Yeah, if you're listening, folks, that's what we want. I think this is bold and another new way to potentially consume Trek and maybe even involve some of the aging actors in Star Trek in ways that we can get them in still. And it's like doing animation or doing audio drama where you need the voice actor, but you don't necessarily, you can do it cheaper. For one, and you can get more stories. So it reminds me of how Star Wars does their books now. Their audiobooks are so well produced with music and sound effects and really talented narrators that can literally mimic voices. I just finished Shadows of the Empire, and this narrator was doing Billy D. Williams and Mark Hamill. He was doing their voices like I was listening to the real actor. And that brings me more into the story. So this sounds like it's going to obviously, since we won't have a visual, bring us more into it with the talent level on the narrators and actors and sound effects and stuff. So
yeah. Shout out to Doctor Who as well. Their audio dramas are amazing and they get the actors back. So the eighth Doctor, Paul McGann, who was only in the movie, had a massive Doctor career on all of the audio dramas with several companions who everyone loves as much as Billy Piper, who was just in the audio play. So going down that route is a really good way to get the actors some money and tell some really valid stories as well. So I hope it's good, but I hope it's a success so we get more audio dramas.
Yeah, I would love, like, okay, my wish list would be like an audio drama. I've asked for this book, but maybe an audio drama would be better. A story for Beverly Crusher in the 20-year gap between Nemesis and Picard season 3. That would be really, really cool, I think, especially if it were well produced, above and beyond. Something like that would be, I think, a good fit for that kind of thing. Last part about Star Trek Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. It was Star Trek Comic-Con. Was my friend Steven and I got to go to the Paramount Plus Lodge experience yesterday. I had to wait in line a whole freaking hour to do this, but I would say it was worth it. We thought we were going to we literally were the last 2 people to be let into the 2:00 experience yesterday. So if we had not got let in, it would have been another hour. So I was like, I was like, oh, that was kismet. Perfect. We got in there. But the Paramount Lodge, normally this experience is all Star Trek, but they did several of their IPs. They did Dexter, Mission Impossible, their CBS Sports. Trying to think what else was in there. Nothing that was, and of course, Star Trek. So the Star Trek experience was really cool. You went into the holodeck, and it was the Starfleet Academy holodeck. And the guy who greeted you was a very handsome man, Trill, in a suit. I got a picture with them, but it's not the best picture because of the overhead lighting that they were using. But thank you, Mr. Trill. And you get escorted into like their version of 10 Forward. And there was this really cool custom cocktail that they made. It was a mocktail, actually. That they made you, and it's a little loungy area. And from there, you moved into this holodeck photo session, which was really cool because it had props from the forthcoming Strange New Worlds episode, where they have that really 1950s Captain Proton looking bridge with all the knobs and everything. Listeners, there's a picture of that on my Instagram, Geek SD, if you want to check that out. And then after you came out of that, you were like literally in a holodeck experience, the black wall with the yellow grid, TNG episode 1 kind of experience. And I took a couple of little fun photos against that. And they gave you a really cute Starfleet Academy tote bag, and it was fun. There, all the people who were working that were dressed up in what looked like Discovery era uniforms, probably Starfleet Academy era. So it was really, really, really cool. So I was glad I did it, and I was glad to see Paramount still representing. And once again, too, down there in San Diego Comic-Con on the big, I think it's the Marriott, was this huge, the overarching over the whole Comic-Con skyscape was the Strange New Worlds season 3 poster art. So Paramount, for all of their problems right now, they showed up.
Well, we are back to our That's a Wrap series, where we're covering the final episode of each season, and we are on part 2. So that means Discovery. Life Itself. That was season 5, episode 10. And it was the 65th episode, 65 episodes of Star Trek Discovery. Cool. So, trapped inside a mysterious alien portal that defies familiar rules of time, space, and gravity, Captain Burnham must fight Maul and the environment itself in order to locate the progenitor's technology and secure it for the Federation. Meanwhile, Booker puts himself in harm's way to help Burnham survive, and Rayner leads the USS Discovery in an epic winner-takes-all battle against Breen forces.
First off, that is a great synopsis. So thank you, Memory Alpha. We all do, right? We go grab it from the internet, but that was the best one. I had to look a few places. Memory Alpha had the most. That was the one I felt that best described the episode. So we all rewatched this, right? And has anyone like this concluded a little over a year ago, maybe a year, 15 months ago. I think Discovery about wrapped up. Had any of you watched this since it ended?
No.
Good. I think that's all three of us. So I would like to ask the first question to both of you. Not just how did the finale land emotionally for you, but like, did it feel different this time around? Because I can say, yes, it did for me. And I'd like to know if it did for you. So Kelvin, you go ahead first.
It did feel different. And time is a great healer, I guess. I also recognize that we Trekkies are quite fickle. So sometimes we get really up in arms about something. And then a few weeks later, we're over it. Everyone going, remember, search for Prime Lorca? Everyone gave up on that as soon as Captain Pike showed up. So I think the furore of the end of Discovery and people saying, oh, no, it's fine. It's had its time. It's had its place. It was completed. And we now have other things. So to go back, I didn't have the emotional resonance that I did at the time of. I really love Sonequa. I think she's a great actress, a great person for our community. I actually love Sonequa more than I love the character of Michael Burnham, and I love Michael Burnham more because of Sonequa. So I was really upset at the time when Discovery was cancelled because this was it. This was the end of Captain Burnham. Whereas now it was really weird watching on Comic-Con Day because of all of the fuss around Starfleet Academy. So to try and feel the end of Discovery while still seeing something from next year in Discovery's timeline, in Discovery's uniforms mostly, and the promise of Tilly, and we saw Tig, it eased it. So I was able to just watch it on this repeat for story.
Yeah.
And it would have been a better season finale than a series finale. And that's, they didn't know it was the series finale. That's why they did the epilogue at the end. We all know that. So yes, I did feel different. I felt more hopeful for Star Trek and Discovery's legacy because we've now got Academy, and I find Discovery complete.
Yeah. Amy, what's your take on?
Kelvin, that was very well said, and I agree. As far as like the time from watching from 15 months ago, I was less emotional. Like I was like the Culber and Stamets, like I was removed. I was like, okay, yep, that's them doing their thing. But this is, like you said, Kelvin, just a story about Burnham. And so I was watching it just, again, for this story purpose and really enjoyed how well everything was wrapped up, including the epilogue part. But I mean, just the story of Maul and the Breen and the progenitors, I thought just so well done for the season, but then just sort of also for the show. So I was less emotional with the time. How about you?
I was very emotional watching it, and I think you put a nail on it right there, Calvin. I think because I watched it last night and a little bit this morning. I watched the epilogue this morning. I stopped. I was ready for bed. So I watched the epilogue this morning, but I watched the episode last night. But it was after watching the 2-minute Starfleet Academy trailer. And I think what the Starfleet Academy trailer did for me was show me that the story goes on and it continues. And, and there's a place for all of our Discovery actors to come back and hopefully do some cameos here and there, maybe do a lesson or whatever that's going to be. So, and I have high hopes that we will see Michael Burnham make an appearance in Academy. And so it didn't feel like as much of an ending to me this time around. I literally was brought to tears a few times watching the finale, especially the epilogue. And I remember hating the epilogue last year. And I think I just thought it was, and I have a little bit of regeneration for that later, but this time around, it really hit me a little bit different. And I really felt like it was it was, you know, it was just so apropos that all this other Star Trek stuff happened right when we covered it, and we literally saw what was going to happen next when we covered. Like, we did not plan this episode to be anywhere related to Comic-Con. We could have predicted that trailer was going to drop. That was pretty obvious. We did last week, but it was. I thought it was really good. So, yay, everyone feels a little bit better about it a year later is my takeaway here. So let's talk about Burnham a little bit more. You brought her up there, Kelvin. We've now had 65 episodes of Burnham. Little fun fact for later, she is the only person that appears in all 65 episodes of Star Trek Discovery, literally. And let's just say also, no other Star Trek show is going to reach 65 episodes. It's very apparent now, unless something really changes in the future, that this was more than we're going to see for anybody. Like, 40 Prodigies, 46 Strange New Worlds, 30 Picards, 50 Lower Decks. This is it. 65 is even more adventure, and plus some of those Discovery episodes are long.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Anyways,
I like that. We've not been shortchanged. We've had a full series.
Plus, we had some short treks in there too, which I don't think count toward the 65. So what do you think of Burnham's arc? We first meet Burnham as Georgiou's second in command, and the protege, the refugee orphan adopted by Spock's family. And we see the show conclude in the future with Admiral Burnham. So what do we feel about this evolution of the Michael Burnham character? Amy, you go first on this one.
Well, sort of contrasting it again with Picard, of him being the, ideal that people have complained about, that he always makes the right choices. And I love that Burnham makes the right choices, but then also gives a reason as to why it's correct, especially with the progenitors. And she does it every season. Like, there is this ideal that she wants and that she believes that the Federation can obtain. Like, I feel, is just one of those captains that truly believes in the mission of Starfleet, more so than anyone that I can think of. She's just so passionate and has this amazing moral compass that has guided us through these 5 seasons, taking out Leland and even sending Discovery off to go wait for Kraft, because that's the right thing to do. So I love her arc and how she has guided her entire crew, even though it's not about her crew, but how she deals with them individually, her relationship with Tilly, her amazing relationship with Saru, like, those are unique and based off of that relationship. And she doesn't just treat everyone the same. It's a one-on-one. And I just love the lessons that we learn from Burnham.
Yeah, it's a big leap from Mutineer to where she ends up. Kelvin, how are you? I mean, I heard you speak a little bit about Burnham in general, and any more to add to that?
Yeah, I do like this concept of her arc. Her story was the journey to being a captain. And I've heard in many interviews that they said that was very intentional from the beginning of the show. They didn't want Sonequa to come in as the captain of the show from day one. They wanted it to be earned and gradual. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how much of that I believe. I don't know how much of things are spelled out in the writer's room from the very beginning. And we all know how ropey things were at the beginning of Discovery with all the changes in the production team. We've covered that on this show. But there does seem to be a pivot with Burnham. It's almost like, if you think of Captain Burnham that we got in season 4 and 5, much lighter, more humorous, inspirational, that captain that would have been lovely to have much earlier in the show. It's almost the Vulcan side of her. and a lot of the orphan PTSD. It seemed to be a huge part of season 1, 2, and a little bit of 3, and then poof, just gone. And so the latter half of the series, certainly once we're in the future, Burnham was a very different character altogether, and in my view, a better character altogether. So I grieved the end of Discovery in a lot of the ways people have said at the time of, wouldn't it have been good if it was like this much earlier, or we got more of the season 4, season 5 Captain Burnham? So that's my reflection on Burnham's arc. Two different sides to her. I preferred the latter half.
Yeah, I hear totally what you're saying. I enjoy the evolution of Burnham. I feel like I maybe not would have joined the second. I couldn't have enjoyed the second half as much as I would had it not gone through the first half. I feel like, that year they give her where she's in the future for almost a year before Discovery shows up. And that's fundamentally what changes her. So you have a year being on your own thinking, you might not ever see anybody you ever knew again. I liken it to when I picked up and moved to college, and I moved from Ohio to Hawaii, and I was in this new place and I didn't know anybody and nobody knew me. And suddenly it was like, I kind of found myself in some ways. You know what I mean? It was like, I didn't have to put up any pretenses for anybody. I had nobody to impress. I had no expectations to live up to. Nobody's watching what I'm doing from day to day. And I grew a lot that first year I lived in Hawaii, including coming to terms with being gay and coming out, because I had no pressure on me anymore and nobody to live up to, and didn't have to worry about it disappointing anybody. And I feel like that's what Burnham got in that first second episode, I guess you'd call it, of Discovery, season 3. And like I said, I also see, like, as I'm getting older as a person, like, people have actually told me how much more chill and patient and wiser I've become over the years, and just like, things I would normally be like triggered by, and I just kind of let it roll off my back. And I feel like that's aging and maturity, and Burnham does that through the show. And I kind of see some parallels there and understand what the character's been through. So I don't know if that's a little too deep for our
I like
this
that
morning, but I really kind of hit me like that. And I really have, I didn't realize, I kind of was reminded yesterday how much I love Discovery, and probably like, I think right now I'm committed to like watching season 5 again. So from the start, because I did feel like I was coming into the last 20 minutes of a movie by starting with episode 10. I think Amy made a comment in our chat about that.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about Burnham, but how do we feel like the show wrapped up for some of our other favorites? Saru is a big one who's been with us. Saru and Tilly have been with us from the beginning. Culber, Stamets. Book came along later, but had quite the bit of journey himself. So did we like the way the show ended up for everybody else? Kelvin, anything you particularly loved or hated about how the show ended for some people?
Well, I think there's good, bad, and ugly, really, as there are with all things. I'm delighted that Tilly's going on to Academy. Is she? Where's Tilly? I like that. I love Saru and Tarina, which is pretty much universal. Everyone loves that. So I love he got his happy ending. Controversially, if we don't see Saru again, I think I'd be okay because of this ending he got.
Yes.
I think I'd be okay. And if he did come back, would it spoil that ending a little bit? Would it be he's come back and they've broken up? Where's Tarina? She's not with you. Can't get the actress. So he's done. It's nice, as much as I love Doug. What I didn't like, the gays.
Yeah.
I have a big problem with this. So they did get their completion. They got their family, which is the destination in itself, what they wanted, and the representation of that. I just don't like the constant, and I think I did put this as a regeneration, but I'm going to say it now. One of them goes on a mission and the other one goes into meltdown. Oh, do you have to go? Yes, it's your job. Get on with it. Why is it just them that have that reaction? and it ruins those character dynamics. And you've seen it with all of them. You see it most with Stamets, but you've seen Culber do it. Anytime Adira has to go and do anything, they all get really upset as well. So to me, that was the end result of two characters who I'm obviously very invested in that I didn't like. I would have liked it when I liked season 2, Culber and Stamets, when Culber first came back and he was a bit more edgy. Didn't really like where they ended up as a family.
Amy, how do you feel the characters ended up for you?
Yeah, Saru, of course, amazing. And we got to see action Saru and his love with Tarina, which is like one of my favorite couples. So Saru, very, very satisfying. Of course, Tilly going on to Strange New Worlds. Just kidding. Starfleet Academy. Definitely really good. And especially that last little bit where she's like coming up with ideas, because teachers do that all the time. Right before they start work, they're like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to institute this. So that totally was on point for that. But yeah, it's the Culber and Stamets story. I did not feel ended well. Like when Stamets was in doing the spore thing and Culber got sucked in doing the spore thing. I don't feel like they actually had a good conclusion of healing. And they were at odds for a season. And did they come back together? I didn't see enough of their story to satisfy me. So
yeah. All right. I'm not going to harp too much on this because you guys said a lot of how I feel about a lot of those characters, especially the gays. But and you know, I will hide like Tarina was like an instant favorite of mine when she showed up in Unification Part 3. Really interesting, really favorite of mine. And by the way, if you have a chance to ever meet her at STLV, she's a very wonderful woman, Tara Roslin. But I'm going to call out, maybe because this was not supposed to be the final season, but still the way it went down. I think like the Detmers and Oswaga, whatever's her name, they're the ones that got done dirty. I'm like, they're like replacements are on, and like they're not even in the final episode until the epilogue. It's like, and I know
Nielsen isn't even in the epilogue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he couldn't even show up, but he was actually a star of the show, in my opinion. A regular, but it was like, I know that was always a criticism of Discovery, that we never really knew the bridge crew. We never really knew the crew. It was always about the same 5 people and really the Burnham show. But it really lands for me that there's these other 2 people doing all the driving on the ship at the end of when they're doing the saucer separation and all this stuff. I'm like, ugh. And then they do show up in the epilogue, and I appreciate that. It was good that they're there and recognized. But yeah, I felt like that was the part that felt that it didn't land right for me. So, anyways, jumping to the epilogue, how did we feel about that scene we get in the shuttle and in the backyard with Burnham and her son Lilo, right? It was named after the nephew that died on Lilo. Leto.
Yeah.
Leto.
Yeah.
Hey, that was just from memory, guys.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah. Kelvin or Amy, go ahead. Whoever.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. First of all, 3 very gorgeous, good-looking human beings, so I could look at them all day long. But the nice relationship, it sort of brought me back to Cisco and Jake. Just that warm family love. So I thought they all 3 had great chemistry, and it was a little too much like, Wesley Crusher joining Starfleet. I'm like, did he really have a choice? Is this really this, but that's just in the back of my mind. But I loved it. And I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't resonate a huge amount with the fact they'd had a son. But what I adore that epilogue. It's beautiful. It really is. But what I love most about it is the chemistry between Book and Burnham, or Sonequa and David Ajala. The way they talk, that thing about when he puts the wax in the coffee and she's like, it's bad. The
You can't come with me anymore.
The rhythm of her voice, and it's so genuine. There doesn't seem to be a huge amount of acting there. You could just believe those two walked up and had that conversation. It was improvised. So you're right, Amy, when you say about Saru and Tarina being like favorite relationships. We talk about relationships in Star Trek, and I'm very, very famous for saying I don't like Dax and Worf. I don't like Kira and Odo. I do like Sonequa. I've got to get away from calling her the actress all the time. I do like Burnham and Booker. They are perfect together. So the fact that they've built this lovely life in that beautiful house that I want to live in thrilled me.
We can all live in that house. It's big enough for all of us.
It's big.
Let's go. I will call out before I give my thought there. Holy moly. I mean, the one thing that like jumped out at me was Sonequa's pajamas matched the coffee cup. And that coffee cup came from Ross. You know it did. So I'm just like, why? I mean, sometimes when you're doing set decoration and whatnot, there is such thing as a little too on the nose. And I don't know. I have an eye for that stuff, and it jumped the hell out at me. So anyways.
Oh, Amy, what did you notice the shuttle that Leto landed in? Do you not think it looks like the ship off the Orville?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it had sort of that tail fin look to it. Yeah, good call.
Like the ship off the Orville.
Yeah. So the scenes for me, like, it was better this time around. I think the whole thing was better this time around. I do have a major regeneration for this epilogue that we can talk about in the regeneration, but otherwise, I love the scene. I actually cried like watching the scene this morning. I am emo, especially in the morning, but you know, I have said it before. If something makes me cry, I know I'm still alive, and I know I haven't still become this bitter old queen that I think I am sometimes. So, and Leto, the actor, first off, I loved his uniform, and that man has quite the ass on him. I don't know if you caught that, Kelvin and Amy, but sorry.
As I said,
I know
I could watch them all day long.
I'm just going to go in a little harder and just say I noticed that. I must have missed that the first time. Anyways, thank you. And I agree with what you said about it feeling very natural. And maybe it was because, you know, this was that negotiated. We're giving you a 12-minute epilogue. We're coming back 5 months after the episode 5. This episode was shot to come back to film the epilogue. And maybe it was a little bit more of a goodbye to each other from the actors. And
maybe a bit more relaxed without the pressure.
It was a little more relaxed. They knew this was the end. And it was maybe a little bit more felt real because it was real. But I appreciated it. All right. So let's move on to topic 2. An hour in. Hey, we're moving along. Themes and symbolism. So let's talk a little bit about this whole idea of life itself and the progenitors and that this whole theme. And I think this is a theme for Discovery all the way through, not just in the finale or the final season, but science and spirituality. We see that in a lot of different ways explored, whether it's, you know, Pike in season 2 and the Red Angel and touches on religion, spirituality with Culber we see throughout the show, especially in seasons 4. And now, you know, the progenitors and this idea, and going right back to where it is actually said in the finale, in the epilogue, life itself is Burnham's answer to her son. How do we feel that the show deals with this feeling, you know, Kelvin?
I'd like to start with a question for you, Christos, actually, because I know you're such a huge lover of the chase. The chase established the progenitors seeding the galaxy, and that is, in Star Trek world, our origin. This is where we came from. We came from the progenitors. So then this episode in the conversation with Burnham, where they say, oh, no, this wasn't our technology. Someone's created this. We just found it and used it. So it kind of changes that creation myth. And I had a feeling that it might have offended, maybe, I don't know, people who are quite religious and spiritual, to have this scientific explanation of creation through another species seeding the galaxy. So maybe they doubled back on it a little bit to put a little bit more mystery and uncertainty back into the mix to retcon what was said in the chase. So how do you feel about that, Christos?
That's a very, very good question. And I was a little offended when I first saw this episode that we were going to like whitewash science and go back to more spirituality. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, well, no matter what, whoever created the progenitors, whether like, for example, if the progenitors came and found that machine, whatever it is, somebody created somebody. So it's like I've always said, you can always trace things back to the Big Bang, but then what? So it just kind of leaves that, we're still searching out strange worlds and new civilizations, and we don't have all the answers. And I guess it's not for Star Trek to like give you the answer to the origin of life or the origin of the universe, right? So, and it just kind of keeps it out there. So while I did kind of have the reaction you described a year ago when it came out, almost like a Spaceballs reaction, like what, like we had all this for 30 years. We've had the chase and this idea, and now we just kind of threw it out with the bathwater. But if you just give it a little bit more thought, it's always that chicken or the egg kind of question, right? It still is. So I'm better with it a year later, I guess.
Because you're older and wiser and more chilled out.
It was that year 47. 47 gives you 47 is where you get all the wisdom. Amy can attest to this, right? It's where it all comes into focus. Kelvin, you'll get
when I get there.
Oh, really? I thought that happened 10 years ago.
Oh, what?
Love you. Amy, how do you feel about the whole science and spirituality of the episode?
Yeah, I thought that was like a huge, bomb dropping that, oh yeah, we just found this. It was here before us. And it was like, what? And I think it's just science and spirituality go hand in hand, because now, as you said, well, who created this? That is now our science journey to figure out how or who. And, we had the technology and we figured out the science. We got to the device, like we figured that out, but we're still learning. And I think it really does go hand in hand. Like with the science and technology we have, we know when life starts in the womb. We, now scientifically, right? No, you know what I mean? I don't want to get into this big thing, but like we have the technology to figure out when a child is, and we didn't know that before. And so it's like we taking this leap of faith until the science can catch up to our spirituality. Right. That's what I feel life itself and discovery has done. Like, look at the science and have the faith that we can figure it out, that we're going to be smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah. So many things that we have today in our world would be called magic, or, if you were to have it 200 years ago, 100 years ago, that's magic. And now it's science, we have it. We know why it is, right? So it's
that's
just a matter
the quest of life.
It's a matter of getting there. I did like another little deep moment there. It's maybe why I like the epilogue a little bit more than I remembered. But when Burnham's saying it's about what we do with our time and who we choose to spend it with, that really hit me hard. Like that was like, that is what it's all about. We're our time in this existence, whatever that is is very finite. And I think you realize that the older you get. I think when you're younger, you think you have so much time ahead of you. And it's like, I kind of had the realization that in 12 years, I'm going to be 60. And that freaking blows my mind, you know. And I think I'm also at an age where I've seen some friends, including myself, have a little bit of health issues come in. And it's like, oh, well, that never would have happened when I was 25. And so those are just, it's a reminder of your mortality. So I think as you get there, and I think that maturity of getting older is realizing that, you know, there's no time for foolishness. There's no time to suffer fools gladly is the phrase I like to use. So, you know, find your tribe, make it meaningful. Go on the trip, go to teases, go do your thing, you know, because it's like you're going to die one day. And all this existence, whether we go on to some other existence, whether it all ends right there, but whatever it is, it's all going to change. And in life itself, it's what we do with life itself. So that was my big takeaway. And it's actually a good a little check-in moment.
Yeah.
I'm
Awesome.
Kelvin this week, everybody, getting deep with the script. Sorry. Not sorry. All right. Let's get...
Usually it's just what merchandise he's been buying.
Have you seen my new hat I got
We've
yesterday?
seen your hat, madam, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into something fun here. Let's just talk about little Easter eggs and callbacks and fan moments. What did you really like about this episode? You can call this a little bit of assimilation-ish, but like, you know, what were some of the things that this episode is like? I'll kick it off. Like, I did not see a saucer separation coming. Like when I first watched this episode, and I loved it. I was like, this is cool. This makes sense, you know, and the way they used it to solve the problem, I thought was really clever. I mean, have we seen saucer separation in Starship since the Next Generation, since the Enterprise D?
I want to say yes.
Yeah.
It was actually in Star Trek Continues, so it doesn't really count. But the original Enterprise sort of separated in that.
Same thing. And I've also heard it in novels and things like that, read it in novels. So yeah, for me, that was my big fan moment, we'll call it. And a little bit of an Easter egg and a throwback to Star Trek The Next Generation. So anybody have any...
You know what it's made me think, though? If that saucer does separate from Discovery, my God, it's screwed in properly if it spins around like that when they go into spore drive mode. It could fly off.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Yeah, can you imagine the stress on that hull when that thing starts spinning?
Programmable matter. It's okay.
Oh.
Yeah, my retcon was that was the refit Discovery, right? Because back in the old Star Trek days, even the Enterprise 1701 can separate, but it needs a starbase to put it back together. You have to go in the dry dock to put it back together. Whereas the Enterprise D could reconnect itself. So my thing was like, well, they figured that out once they gave it its big refit and jumped to the future. Amy, anything that like just jumps out of you in this episode that's like, whether it's a callback or Easter egg or...
Yeah, I mentioned it before, but with Zora and the tie-in to the short treks with Kraft, absolutely
Calypso.
loved it. That's my favorite short trek. And so to have that, and again, having that one-on-one time with Burnham and Zora was really nice. And they had their moment of, oh, remember back then, and you know, and their growth. It was really nice. And I felt like, you know, that season 2.
I think it was between season 1 and 2. But between season 1 and that Calypso happened, Yeah.
So I had always wondered, how are they going to get this to fit? And for me, it fit perfectly.
Yeah. I didn't think it needed to fit. I thought you could have just left Calypso as some story out there. And I actually kind of have it in my regeneration. We can kind of blend this together a little bit here for this part. As to why we needed to do that, I don't think we needed to do that. But they made it work with this idea that they downgrade their technology on Discovery before they throw it away. I just don't understand the why it happens. Why at that particular time when Burnham is an old admiral, Like, why is it being sent off to the middle of nowhere and left?
I think
I don't.
because if they didn't do it, you'd have people like me saying, "Well, that can't have ended, right?" Like people saying they needed to wrap it up with that because they'd already established it, so they were getting themselves out of the story mess. They
established this red directive, and that's why it was happening. So okay, there you go. But like, so maybe we're not supposed to know, but I don't know. What about Colvich? I forget his name now. Where'd it go? It's
Colvich. Yeah, well, that's
Kelvin.
my favorite callback.
Yeah, go. You do it. Go for it.
I obviously didn't see it coming. Nobody did. But I was very happy. I love Enterprise. I love the temporal Cold War storyline. It was always a bit of a frustration. It was never really wrapped up. So to have that link to Enterprise here was lovely for me. And I even love the scene in Kovich's office. It's a bit like your living room, Christos. He's just got all the merch. He's got Geordie's visor. He's got Cisco's baseball. Mm-hmm. He's got everything. He's been to Comic-Con. He's opened the wallet. But even again, God, it sounds like I'm in love with Sonequa. But that, Michael Burnham, lovely to meet you. The handshake.
Yes.
I loved it. So tying Enterprise to Discovery is something that you just wouldn't expect, and to do it in such an unexpected way. Even at the time, I remember thinking, "This is brilliant."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's my
I love that part of it too, and we'll cover all the details of what was in his office in trivia and continuity. So hang in there. So let's just talk about start wrapping this up a little bit, at least on the main topic here. The legacy of Star Trek Discovery. It was the show that brought Star Trek back to television. 2017. It ended in 2024. 5 seasons, 65 episodes. How do you think it's going to be remembered, Amy?
Man, because we have been podcasting and about this and starting from the get-go, and the amount of sometimes vitriol and hate for Discovery from the fans, and it's, I think, softened. I think, unfortunately, people don't really talk about it a lot. I'm feeling like it might be Enterprise level of how it's not anyone's favorite, but it's still Trek and we love all Trek type of comments. And that is very sad for me because the characters, like we keep on going with Burnham, like so beautiful. The actors that are now in our community, so beautiful. So I feel a little mixed with how the fans are going to treat Discovery.
Yeah. Kelvin?
I think it's still a little bit too soon. If you think of how DS9 and Enterprise are regarded now, so many years later, and people having gone back and watched it and reflect how at the time everybody hated Enterprise. There was even quite a lot of hate for Deep Space Nine at the time when it first aired, whereas now everyone says, oh, DS9 is the best series. Oh, Enterprise was quite good. Oh, they did a continuity arc. Oh, that was quite novel at the time. I think Discovery will get that respect in 10 years as people dip back into it, and they will see things that we are not seeing now as things change in taste. So I still think it's a bit too soon to reflect on what Discovery contributed, but I love all the stats with Discovery. I like it's, the one that was on the Earth for the most amount of time. If you think of the periods of time, and I love that you did the episode count as well, how it's the highest of the modern Treks, and it just contributed so much. It will never be my favorite. You will never get me turn around and say my favorite series is Star Trek Discovery, but I like Discovery for its thing, and the fact it was brave enough to be a show all about one or two characters, and everyone else was. I prefer an ensemble. I breathed out when Strange New Worlds gave us that back. But I like that is what Discovery had as its thing. And The technology was great,
Mhm.
the visuals, the music. I think it will be fondly remembered as being very progressive for many
Well
reasons.
said. Well said. I also think there's a one piece here that neither one of you touched on, is that I think Starfleet Academy could have a lot of influence on what the legacy of Discovery will be.
Mm.
How much they connect to Discovery, obviously, as a spinoff, will be, I think, telling, because especially if Academy were to take off as a hit, let's say, how many of these new fans may go back and watch Discovery and discover a whole nother world and how this Academy world came to be, right? So there's that. I do agree, Kelvin. It's going to take about 10 years. It's probably going to be like that Enterprise DS9, where history, like, I like for its legacy, though, first series with a African American woman lead, and I love what it did for in that aspect, in that arena. So any controversial moments about Discovery you guys want to touch on?
Oh,
I mean, I
real
know
quick
that
before moving on, I wanted to ask you a question
yeah.
About what you were saying about Starfleet Academy, with it being a spinoff, that might, change how Discovery is remembered. Do you think that Strange New World as a spinoff, has that changed Discovery?
Here's I think people forget that Strange New Worlds came from season 2 of Discovery, and you wouldn't have Strange New Worlds if we didn't have Discovery.
Right.
I think people just forget that detail.
And you know what is quite interesting with that as well? So people will watch Academy, love it, and then think, I might go back and watch Discovery. I think the same with Strange New Worlds and the original series. So, because I've been back and watched, the Roger Corby episodes, I've been back and watched Arena with the Gorn, to tie this continuity together. I think Strange New Worlds is doing a lot for the original series.
Yeah.
So I think that's the similarity there.
I'm going to break theme for just a hot second. I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were interviewing the showrunners for Strange New Worlds, and they didn't have to beg for these 6 episodes that we're going to get for season 5. They were given graciously, and the idea of the 6 episodes is to bring us to the original series. It's going to advance Strange New Worlds up to Kirk becoming captain. So I think to your point, Kelvin, I think that's going to really, if you get us there, will that make people want to go start a TOS rewatch or go try it for the first time? So interesting.
So we're getting McCoy next season, are we?
I think I could come do that role now. I think I've gotten to that curmudgeon-y kind of part of life that I could do it. I guess I'll just comment. I had a thing in here about controversial moments, and I want to probably say maybe the biggest thing Discovery got wrong in the beginning, that got it on the wrong foot, was its extreme interpretation of the Klingons. And there are so many people that couldn't get past that, and still can't. And we saw the big shift in season 2 to get us a little bit more there. And in Strange New Worlds, which is a spinoff, is doing it more like TNG, Burnham era. So I felt like that was a controversial moment that really kind of shot the show in the foot, a production choice, actually, that some fans couldn't get past, and that really created a lot of the wrong chatter at the beginning.
We also had the LGBTQI plus representation argument of representation for the sake of representation rather than it being in the story or pivotal. So certainly I would say Adira at the time got a lot of hate. And it's a shame. And I'm certainly not on the hate, but I'm certainly on the disappointment side of, retrospectively, I think they could have done something different with those characters, and those characters still been present and represented, but in different storylines. to make it more earned.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's jump into some assimilations and regenerations. I don't know how much we're going to have here because we've kind of really been talking about a lot of our loves and
mine.
but let me kick it off. I really enjoyed the wedding only because I was all about. I saw that chemistry with Saru and Tarina back in Unification episode 3. So to see over 2.5 seasons their relationship progress, and I think she was the one that asked him to marry her. So I kind of love that female forward. I love Tarina. I just don't know why. I always love a strong Vulcan woman. I just always have. Valaris, Savick, you bring them in. I'm here for you. Amy, any assimilations anyone throw in there?
I really liked Captain Raynor and the solutions that the crew came up with the Breen. I know that's sort of the secondhand story, but I just was very impressed when they're like, oh, we're going to go in and light up the plasma. I'm sure that's been done before. I feel like that's a callback to something in TNG.
Many times.
Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, it's still working. That's so fun. But then to like split the Discovery and send them, where did they go?
The galactic barrier.
Like, get out. That is cruel. I mean, but they'll still be alive. So it was, sort of a nice, safe solution.
He did say it was nicer. He's doing them a nicer thing than they did to his parents. In his
exactly. Word. Yeah. So I just thought that finally we got good chemistry with Captain Raynor and the crew, and they were working together. So I really like that.
This is where I sound a little bit soft and mushy now, but in the epilogue with Burnham's reflections when she imagines all the crew and they all come up for the party and they all hug and seeing Detmer and Oo, and it's lovely. It is just really nice. We've talked about this kind of ensemble versus not piece, but the fact they made quite a big deal of it in the epilogue to give those actors a presence and a farewell, because it was a farewell that, as I was watching it, I thought they put this in to allow not only the audience to say goodbye, but for those actors to say goodbye to each other. And it was kind of like life imitating art in that scene. So I really enjoyed it. Any scene where Saru and Burnham hug is a good scene for me, because it's kind of like when I see you guys when we just hug. I feel it. So that was my big softy assimilation moment.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever had a hug from Doug Jones, you know what that feels like.
Yeah.
We
have.
Well, I'm going to go off that and start regenerations, because although the scene was very fitting, I could not get behind them using some random laughing backtrack during that whole thing. I'm like, are you kidding me? It was just, it didn't match what they were doing, first of all. And if they're laughing that, I've never heard Burnham laugh that much. What? It just seemed so uncharacteristic to have this laughing track. They could have done something better. That's a big regeneration.
Yeah. For Calypso, for me, that callback to Calypso, I don't know. I didn't need that. I don't like it. I didn't think Calypso fit anymore after the show jumped to the future and got the big refit. So, and I didn't need to come back to it. So I felt like maybe they could have they could have done something else. I don't know. I think even just decommissioning Discovery would have been, hey, it's going into the museum. It's an old ship now. It's had its time. I didn't need this. Like, we're going to ship the starship up to nowhere and just leave it alone for 1,000 years, alienate our artificial intelligence that's alive. And I didn't need it.
Irresponsible, really, when you think of like the Prime Directive. Anyone could happen across it. Well, Kraft, who's to say he's a good guy?
Yeah.
Including the spore drive.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal, So they're like, we're going to throw away our spore drive. All right. So yeah, I did like I said, I like the scenes. I like the conversations with Book and Leto and, the hugs and all that stuff. But the why they were doing what they were doing just never quite lands for me.
My regeneration takes us back to the very beginning of the episode. I just didn't like the protracted fight scenes with Maul and Burnham. They went on for far too long. I mean, the time between the cold open and the start of the credits was ridiculous. And to me, it was, hey, we've got this great AI wall, let's see how good it is. Let's show it off. Let's make it earn its money. But it was more like watching The Matrix than watching Star Trek with all these weird fight scenes in different gravity environments. Have it for 30 seconds. That's all we need. It didn't need to go on for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen this before. And I'll tell you, I felt like ever since the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, you referenced The Matrix, that there's been this need to show these, and speaking of which, that's a Michelle Yeoh movie, these needs to have these fight scenes. And like we had this like at the end of season 2 where Nan and Giorgio are fighting Leland, and these long I agree with you. I will just say my biggest regeneration is like Maul. I mean, I just never quite understand her and her anger and her bitterness. And it's a little bit of a trope that is overdone, I feel like. So anyways, that's mine. Any other regenerations? All right. Let's move on to trivia and continuity. Amy, why don't you kick us off?
Well, executive producer and co-showrunner Michelle Paradise has a voiceover cameo role in this episode as a Starfleet officer who informs Admiral Burnham about the shuttle arriving to pick her up. I didn't know that. That's cool.
I love that. I love when we all learn things.
Didn't Terry Matalis do that in Picard season 3? He announced Picard and Crusher and Jack on the shuttle going to the renamed Enterprise.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they did it twice. The same thing. Anyway, there you go. Extra bit of bonus trivia there. But my official one is that Kovich identifies himself as Agent Daniels of the USS Enterprise and other places. So this is a reference to the mysterious time traveler and temporal agent from the 31st century, Daniels, who appeared on Star Trek Enterprise. So when it says USS Enterprise, I always thought that as Enterprise J, because I think that was the ship he served on, not the NX-01. There you go.
I share that headcanon. I referenced this earlier. So among the items on display in Kovich's office are a bottle of Chateau Picard, Geordie LaForge's original visor, Benjamin Sisko's baseball, and Catherine Janeway's microscope, implying that Kovich also has a connection to the events of Star Trek The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager.
The final scene in which the USS Discovery is returned to its original configuration and sent into deep space on a Red Directive mission to wait for craft is a reference to Star Trek Short Trek Calypso, in which Discovery and Zora, after being abandoned for nearly 1,000 years, are found by craft.
So is the implication then that there's a prediction that the Federation will have its war, or whatever it's going to happen, that's going to, basically take it to nothing, and that by feeding Discovery where it's going to meet craft, that will be the beginning of trying to bring it back? The Federation, that I don't know. See, I'm trying to give me some headcanon to make this all okay, but anyways.
I like that headcanon.
All right.
The episode's opening sequence features visual elements from previous seasons' opening sequences. I didn't clock that when I rewatched this today, but I remember thinking at the time, like the guy grappler that grabs on, I was like, that had nothing to do with season 4. But yeah, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. The additional 16-minute epilogue was added to the episode after Paramount decided not to renew Discovery for another season. It was filmed in late April 2023, 5 months after production wrapped on the episode.
Right.
All right. So final thoughts. Not much to do here because we've only had one other episode in this series so far, which was TOS's Turnabout Intruder. I guess just really quickly, which episode do you prefer? Turnabout Intruder, which was the final episode of Star Trek, the original series in 1969, or Life Itself, the finale to Star Trek Discovery, which ends in 2024. Amy.
All right. Well, Discovery definitely wraps up way better than Turnabout Intruder. We just talked about it. TOS didn't have a conclusion. So to have this conclusion, so wrapping things up, giving us a preview into Michael and Burnham and their family and sending Discovery, like we didn't just get the end of the story of season 5. We got the end of everyone's story, if you will. So absolutely this one takes precedence because it is a true series finale.
And you, Kelvin, preference?
Obviously, I will go for Life Itself. However, I will say it's interesting that we are only so far comparing these two episodes because these are the two series finales as a result of the cancellation, which was known after shooting. So even though Enterprise was cancelled, they knew halfway through season 4 or towards the end that they weren't coming back. So they were able to do These Are the Voyages. Mm-hmm. Whereas with this, it was always supposed to be the end of the season. There was no Big Bang. The epilogue was put in later, as you said. So to compare Turnabout Intruder and Life Itself is very interesting. But Life Itself is just so much better.
Yeah, that's a very interesting call out there. Yeah, I'm actually feel like I'm asking this question because it's what we do at the end of our episodes in these series. But yeah, it's Discovery. Everyone knows how I feel about most of the TOS. So we'll just leave it at that. All right, Amy, tell us. We have one more episode before we go on STLV break.
Okay.
And this episode that we're going to do will drop in the middle of STLV. I don't know who's got editing on that episode because I think we should talk about that maybe offline. But so Amy, why don't you? There might be another episode. Might be 2 weeks. I don't know. Guys.
Yeah.
Amy, our next episode, whenever we get around to it, will be
our Murder, She Wrote series. Thank you, Christos. And part 2, where we are going to discuss Voyager's ex post facto.
Yay. I am loving our little Murder, She Wrote series because I think Jessica Fletcher's getting such a callback. Did you hear they're going to make a Murder, She Wrote movie with Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, speaking of which, I think we were on it because we christened our series before this announcement, everybody. So we're going to ride the comeback wave. All right. We would love to hear what you thought of today's show. And there are many ways you can do this. You can join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. You can join our Discord server, or you can follow the network on Bluesky and Instagram at BQN Podcast to continue our discussion there. You can find the links and invite code in the show notes. So, Amy, where can people find you when you're not separating yourself to take out the enemy?
Well, when I'm not doing that. You can find me here on the network where I am co-hosting Union Federation, and we are covering the new season of Strange New World. So if you'd like to hear more of my thoughts, please check us out there and subscribe. I am on our Discord server and our Facebook group. That's my favorite place to find me. Yeah, that's it. And Kelvin, where can people find you when you are having a love romance just as much as Booker and Burnham?
Oh, that's nice. I'm always doing that.
Yes.
Hi, James.
Does James know?
Yes, with him as well. You can find me on most of the socials at Kelvin's Timeline, or you can find me in the BQN Collective Facebook group. Come and post some memes, comments, all of that jazz. We love to see them. And comment on our episodes. We'd love to hear you. And Christos, where can people find you when you've not spent the best part of a year hunting down precious merch, only to throw it away, saying no one should have it at the end.
I've never done that. You can find me everywhere on Instagram and Bluesky at GreekGeekSD and What's the T-Bev. You can find me in the Discord server, which I've been a little more active this week, everybody. I'm trying to use it more. You can find me over in the BQN Collective on Facebook and in the Federation page on Facebook. That page has kind of come back to life the last couple of days. So I'm everywhere. And you can find me August 6th through the 10th at STLV.
If you'd like to keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can join Hit It, our reaction show, script readings, and enjoy a special Patreon-only shows of It's Green and Amy's Math Moments, not to mention watching All Good Things visually as a podcast. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
If becoming a patron isn't your thing, you can still support the show by sharing our posts on social media, talking about it with your friends, or hitting the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts and leaving us a star rating and a written review. That really does help others to find our show.
At this time, we would like to thank our very own associate producers, Tim Cooper and JJ Feastrom. A special thanks to Graham Kelly for our opening and closing music, and of course, our very own Mr. Kelvin Wood for our weekly artwork every week. And of course, I already voted for my cover of which one I like, so we'll see what happens. I will say I was chatting with Mr. JJ just yesterday, talking about all the Pride badges. I handed out, so I had like 10 Pride badges that he had given me, and I was handing them out at Comic-Con yesterday, making some people very happy. To the point that I have none left. I'm out. But he shared with me the designs for this year's Pride badges. Ooh. And I can tell you, they're better than anything he's ever done.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I'll drop it in our chat after we're done here. And I've actually tasked him with designing my tattoo, and he's working on that right now. So shout out to JJ. We love you, and we're looking forward to seeing you in a week and a half. So listeners, as always, thank you for listening.
We hope you'll join us as we search out
all good things.